All right. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Punked Out Podcast. I'm your host, Sam, and I am so excited to be joined by Runner the Writer. He is a pop punk and emo artist, and I have his songs stuck in my head daily. They're just too good. Anyway, I'm super stoked to get to know his story. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So,
Thank you for having me, first of all. Thank you,
of
Sam.
course. Of course, I'm so excited. I'm so happy that you came across my TikTok and we were able to connect and
Yeah,
I'm just so stoked to get to know your story, man.
I think like similar hashtags or something. I came across you. I was like, this person, they're promoting all the music that I listen to, and so that was really cool. And then I
That's
think I saw
awesome.
the video you did with one of Fluorescent's songs, and I was talking to them at the time, so it was cool.
That's so perfect. We shout out to Fluorescence. We love
Yeah,
Fluorescence over here
yeah,
and
they're great.
you are going on tour with them, correct?
I'm actually just opening the Nashville show, so they're on tour, and that's awesome. I wish I was doing the full tour with them, but no, I'm just opening the show here in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah,
Well, that's amazing regardless cuz it's only up from there, right? Like for
yeah,
sure.
I hope so. I'm just hoping, I get to open for more cool people.
I'm sure you will, man. With the music you're making, it's really like you could just feel it. Like you make such great music, and
Thank you.
I truly say that as like I listen to your songs as I'm driving to work in the morning.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I'm you know I'm excited. A lot of the songs that are out now, which there's only 5 songs out right now, I think.
Mhm.
Um, I recorded 14 songs, like a full length album before I posted a thing. So I have uh, a full length album completely done. And then I kind of realized, I've been listening to them for a year. So like all of these songs have been done and everything, and I'm writing and recording an entirely new album. But I kind of found out that with how social media is, um, one song at a time tends to be easier to get people to listen to. So you know, I I've just been listening to these songs, and I'm like one at a time. I'm like I'm so excited for people to hear this one. Like I forgot about this one, you know.
Oh wow. Yeah, cuz I think you started releasing on Spotify like 2021, right? Or something like that? 2022, 2021?
It was 2020. The first song was Sunset, and it came out May 12th, 2023. So just a year ago. That was like
Yeah.
I think under the name Runner the Writer, I did release 2 songs. Um, Maybe it was 2021. Maybe you're right, but those songs have disappeared.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah,
Fly is 23 then. Correct? Fly is 2023.
yeah. I think Fly came out January of this year, 2024.
I'm tripping.
I can't remember, but I know. Let's see, like Fly came out January, and then Bad for You came out in March, and then I have Scars in the Dark coming out in 2 days. So yeah,
I'm
May
so
24th.
excited for that.
There's I haven't told anybody or posted it or anything, but I have another song called Run coming out on June 7th. So that's just a few weeks away. But so that's more of like the classic throwback to pop punk um song, and it's a really fun song.
And so I was wondering, since we did mention a little bit of a pop punk throwback kind of vibe situation,
Yeah.
we here on Punked Out Podcast love a good origin story. Uh, would you be down to tell us about who you were in the MySpace days?
Oh yeah, sure. So when I started playing music, I was young, and so I started a band, or actually joined a band that was, they already had a name. It was called No Sense, but like sense like money. And
Oh,
so I changed the name to No Sense, like it makes no sense, you know. And we started as a pop punk band, and then quickly became, I guess, an emo screamo band. Um, so that was as MySpace was coming out. There was nobody on MySpace, and somebody, my friend Charlie, was actually like, you got to get a MySpace," and I was like, "What's that?" And so I actually didn't make one. My girlfriend at the time made me a page and posted pictures of me, and then she was like, "Oh, you have thousands of friends," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so like my name on there was just Randy at the time. That's my first name. Um, while I'm there, these are my initials. I don't know if you can see my hoodie, but Runner the Writer is um, based off of my initials, which I got Runner from. And so my first name's Randy, and um, it was just Randy. And then I already had tons of friends on MySpace. You know, that's what they called it before followers. And back then, all of your friends could see every post that you posted, so that was nice. Um, but so I added like, you know, I don't even know why, but I didn't want to put my real last name on MySpace, so I put Romance, Randy Romance, and like before I knew it, it was just like growing and growing. I played in my band still, and I had my page, and um, yeah, back then there wasn't like a lot of bands that had access to recording music and getting a decent recording. You know, I say decent because like back then we were like, oh my God, this is great. And now I listen back and I'm like, ugh, you know, so, uh, you know, but like there wasn't a lot of people who had access to it. And so, you know, people on MySpace were so excited to like when a band posted a new song, it was like, oh my God, this band posted their song on MySpace. And so my band started growing and I started growing. And yeah, MySpace was like a huge moment, and by moment I mean probably a decade of my life, and that, you know, until it kind of fell apart and you know, turned into a bunch of spam and they lost control. Facebook took over. So yeah, that's kind of like how I started. And during those times, it went from pop punk, turned it into like an emo screamo band, and got to play with almost like every cool band I could think of around. I'm from Torrance, California,
right.
and so we started there, and we played all over the South Bay, Hollywood, and you know, eventually I was able to like tour the country, and that was all from MySpace. So it was all, you know, like if it wasn't for MySpace, I wouldn't have had a lot of the memories and you know, cool things that I was able to do.
Wow. That's just amazing. Like like there's a whole like age of MySpace, and I know
Yeah,
I'm just like just a couple years shy of where you were at. So I was a little bit
yeah,
younger in the MySpace days, but the I was all up on MySpace. I wasn't old enough to party or go to as
yeah,
many shows as I would like to, but I think we were talking about bands like the Scene Aesthetic, and I found them on MySpace, and like things like
yeah,
Gregory and the Hawk, the Millionaires, the Medic Droid,
yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that. And the Scene Aesthetic was the first show I had ever been to, and that was just it was such a time. And it's so funny because like it's so cool. It's like TikTok has been able to kind of like revive that sort of like passion or like fire of like the
yeah.
MySpace kids, or like we like to use the term elder
The
emo just
elder
for
emos.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
yeah,
even though we're not old or anything, but it's just like it's a time that has passed in the past when
yeah,
we were younger. So that's
yeah.
I just think that's so dope.
I think it is really cool because I haven't seen you know, like a platform that has given so many artists or bands or whatever opportunities like they're getting with TikTok, since MySpace. And
Yeah.
it's really cool because, when TikTok first started, it was like not really a place for artists or bands or anything, And so I was like really happy to see, that it's become the number one place for people to discover music pretty much. So that's really
Right.
cool.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Like, since MySpace, there hasn't really been that open field for independent
Yeah.
artists to thrive the way
Yeah.
MySpace was. Like, God, man, I miss that little music player. I miss that
Yeah.
little thing.
It was really cool. Just like
Yeah.
you can full on customize it. And I remember, like, I don't know if it was the same for you, but like nobody knew how to do HTML or, like coding or anything. And
Yes.
we didn't even try to learn. It was just like, oh, we have to put this background on our MySpace. We have to put this banner on it or whatever. So before we knew it, we were all like computer geniuses, and it was kind of crazy.
I say that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
in the MySpace days, we were all little coders. Like, we were
Yeah.
all coding. Like,
It was like we
like,
were writing it too. It wasn't like a button that did it for you. It was like
nope.
we were full on.
We were like less than sign, forward slash, bold, italic,
Yeah.
greater than sign. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
crazy. Like, and it was just like nothing. It was like second nature, and we were just
Yeah.
like creating our whole thing exactly the way we wanted it to be. Like, we changed our cursor, we coded comment boxes, like,
Yeah.
hello, like,
It
rar,
was
I'm
like
a
a whole.
dinosaur, like.
Yeah. And it was like you had to, like, you would go through all of that and not even know what you were learning at the time.
So you were making music back then. You were in bands. I think you said you had a little bit of a solo project, and you're making music now.
Yeah.
Who were your main influences or inspirations back then? And do they differ to your main influences for your Runner the Writer project? Do you have different influences now than you did back then? Or are they kind of intertwined? What are what do you look up to?
I'm like music bipolar, I guess. I don't know what to call it, but you're probably the same. A lot of people are like, I like just good music. I don't care what genre or whatever. And throughout me playing music and being a writer, I feel like I've kind of dipped, dipped my toes into different genres like constantly. I started, like I said, with pop punk, and I think, when I was really young, it was like Blink 182 is my favorite band to this day. Um, like there's when I'm mixing music, like my reference mixes are pretty much Blink. Like there's a lot. Like I
Yep.
listen to a lot of Blink, and I'm like, oh, I want the kick to sound like that. I want the guitar tone to sound like that. And it's like impossible because they just have great engineers and producers. But um, so I like Blink 182, but like I also, I loved Linkin Park. I loved Eminem. I loved NSYNC. I loved, like like I have an older sister, and like there was this, you know, I was like caught in between. I have a sister that's 2 years older than me. I have a brother that's 11 years older than me.
Wow.
And my sister at the time, it was like Mariah Carey and Britney Spears and NSYNC and all this pop, but she also showed me Blink 182 and Newfound Glory and stuff like that. But then my brother was on the other side, like Slayer and Metallica and like all this, like, metal, like old school metal. Well, I don't know if like I should call it old school. I probably made a lot of people feel bad right there. But, but, like classic radio metal. And, so I was like being fed these two different things. And then, my mom was like a deadhead, is, like she loved like the Grateful Dead and like all that kind of stuff. My dad loved like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles and Pink Floyd and stuff. So there was just a lot of music coming at me from a lot of different ways. And I just was kind of like in between, like picking like, well, I like that from what you like, and I like that from what you like, and you know, um, so my big influences were, like I said, like Blink-182, Linkin Park, Eminem. There was like a lot of pop, and I liked a lot of that, like really radio pop stuff, like NSYNC and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it was just so catchy, and I just love like a catchy song, like a catchy melody, and that's what I've always been drawn to. And then I think like that still applies, like those artists still apply very much to, like when I'm writing anything, they kind of live inside of me. But I listen to a lot of um like newer artists, like I've listened to Neck Deep for a long time, but like they're great. I've been listening a lot to their new album, and I like Black Bear a lot. And speaking of MySpace, he comes from the MySpace days, but like he's always been great. But I feel like with In Loving Memory, which is like his album that he did with Travis Barker, I just loved the way it was mixed. I love the songwriting on it, and he just has like one of those voices that I'm just jealous of. So, um, I listen a lot to him, when I'm kind of reference mixing and stuff. And again, that's kind of, I guess, like the same as listening to Blink, because it's Travis Barker producing it, and it's
Right.
you know, Thrasher or Thrash, whatever he goes by. He's the engineer, and like we knew each other back in the day, and I'm so happy to see him. Like he worked on Blink's new album. I would die to be in that chair. But um, yeah, I don't know. I listen to a lot of new stuff. I find a lot of new stuff on TikTok, just because like kind of like I found you, like similar hashtags, people in
Yeah.
the genre or whatever. There's this band, um, from Ireland. They're called Grey Wind. I don't know if you've seen their stuff,
Hmm.
probably.
Right.
um,
Right.
but they're great. And I actually found Fluorescence on there, and that's like I came across. I think Roll the Dice is the song,
I love that
and
song. Mhm.
but there's a lot of new artists. Like I'm always looking for new music, and I love to support people doing the same thing I'm trying to do, because it's really,
Right.
really hard to, you know, not only like to get people to see your video, but like sometimes TikTok's just like, I don't want to show anybody this. They'll show like 200 people, and then they're like, never again. And you're like, all right, well, I tried.
Yeah, you're like, am I shadow banned? Like, what did I do
Yeah,
to you?
yeah.
Like,
What happened?
yeah.
So when I see people, kind of doing the same thing with more success, probably, I'm always like, oh, like that's a really great song. I'm going to go to Spotify and check them out, because I hope, people will do the same for me. It's hard. Like people don't have attention spans these days. So they're just like 2 seconds into your song. Nope. So
They're
it's
like,
like, all right.
skip. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's why I like sharing, and that's why I like how we kind of have like a little pop punk community on
Yeah.
there, and we all like to kind of share each other's stuff, and that inspired me to make this podcast so like people
Yeah.
can get to know like the artists like behind all like the
There should
short
be
form
more.
content. Yeah, like
Yeah.
before it's like there's you get to hear 5 seconds of their song, but like let's get to know the person, like.
Yeah.
And I it's funny as you're speaking about all your influences, like I so resonate with all of those, like especially growing up. Like we kind of grew up in the same area, because like I was listening to Blink-182 when I was in the third grade, like
Yeah.
so same
I
old
think
thing.
same.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
you could you said like you really like catchy tunes, and every time I listen to your music, and I was saying in the beginning, your songs are always they're literally stuck in my head. I'll just be like sitting there and in my head it's just like I'm just bad for you, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it won't leave my head, but I like it.
I mean, they're all really fun songs to write. I was gonna say that was a really fun one to make. But I think like all the songs, yeah. If I'm not having fun writing it, then it's, probably getting thrown away. So,
Right. You can
well,
tell you can
unless
tell
it's
it's
like
fun.
yeah, unless it's supposed to be like a pulling your heartstrings. But I haven't released one of those yet, but there will be. So,
I mean, Fly pulls at your heartstrings a little bit.
oh,
Fly
in a good
in a
way,
good way. Oh yeah, you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
like sad.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm talking like, yeah, like pull your heartstrings, like, oh, like I can feel the pain in this, yeah, yeah, or like a ballad, or like just
Yes.
something really emotional, and not in the emo way,
You're
well,
not
in
the
the emo way, in the emo way, but like beautiful pain, I
Yes.
guess.
I bet there's that album coming out. I don't know. We might be a
I
little
know, I
foreshadowing
know,
something here.
I know, right? No, there's like my deja vu. I don't know if you listen to that one, but
Of
like
course.
that's a painful one, and
It
it's
is.
like very vulnerable and very honest, and I love I love doing that because sometimes it's like I'm when there's things, or things that cross my mind, or things that I'm feeling that I'm even kind of scared to put into a song. It's like, oh, like people are going to judge this, or people are going to feel a certain way about this line. It's like, do it. It's like that's I've gotten to the point where I'm just like do it, because it will make people turn their head. Maybe it'll make people not scroll so fast.
Like that's why
Yeah,
your music is so good, especially the song Deja Vu. It's so relatable. And when you talk about like, oh, should I put that in there? Is it too much? Is it too vulnerable? Like, yes, do
yeah,
it. Because when you question it, like those are usually the things that you're just scared to put out because it means so much to you and it's your pain. And
yeah,
but when you feel that way, so many other people feel the same thing, and that
yeah,
will really catch their eye and their ear, you know?
yeah. And it's like, but a lot of artists say this, um, but like it's a huge reason to do it is because like there's people who don't have the outlet, the expression of being able to write songs, or make music, or play an instrument. And when you make songs like that, as somebody who was a kid sitting there listening to, you know a lot of different bands. I mean, you think about, speaking of Linkin Park, like all of the lyrics that we should have saw his mental health suffering a long time ago. But when somebody does that, why was Linkin Park so huge? Because there was so many people that felt that way, and it was like he was speaking for people who couldn't speak for themselves. And I think that's such a great part of being a songwriter, is trying to make people feel a little less alone, you know?
Absolutely. I always say, like, I feel like music is one of the most tangible forms of like magic, truly,
Yeah,
because it
it is.
it it moves people in a
It
way that you
yeah,
can't even explain, or you can't see it, but it
yeah.
literally moves you. Like when you were mentioning that about Linkin Park right now, I felt like I just like went back to that time and heard their lyrics all in those 2 seconds,
Oh
and I was
yeah.
like, oh my god, like I have chills all over my body just talking about it.
Yeah. Like I feel like I remember a good amount of times just like broken, like just sitting there just broken, listening to one of their songs, and just, you know, feeling what he was feeling. And like I had a really crazy childhood, and upcoming, like family life and home life and stuff like that. So
Right.
there was a lot of times where it was like, oh my God, I found an artist who's who's speaking for me. And it was, it's like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a lot of bands, a lot of artists. And that's very much including Blink 182. They like, you know I feel like Blink has always been there for me in whatever way I need them to be there for me. And I'm sure, the entire generation that they raised. Um, we all feel that way because they made me cry when I needed a good cry. They made me laugh they constantly make me laugh,
Right?
and they just made you happy and, you know, got your teenage angst out and yeah, I
Yeah.
mean your adult angst out if you need it now, like there's just like every emotion and you know bands like that don't come very often. So that's why they are, you know, that's why they're Blink 182. I feel like this whole interview, like I could just talk about Blink. So
Dude, I know, right? No, for real. Like, no, no. We'll have like we should have a whole nother episode and just like we should just go through each album and like
yeah,
talk about Blink
just
because
review. Yeah,
yeah, dude. I'm seeing them this summer actually with Pierce the Veil.
that's
I'm so stoked. I can't
that
wait.
is
And I saw them
awesome.
at when we were Young Fest too, and that was the first time I saw them live ever.
How
And
was
I was
that crowd? I've seen the pictures, but oh my God, like where were you in that sea of people?
I would say like pretty far back from the stage, but but like center still.
Oh,
But
okay.
still so many people behind us, like dude, just thousands and thousands. Like,
I would. I've seen them, but not on the new tours. But as a mate, like when I saw the footage of their comeback show, um, what was that, Coachella? When I
God,
saw the footage of that, I was just like, God, like they're bigger than ever. It was just amazing. It's like all of their fans were us, and then we grew up and we're like, I'm gonna go see Blink. Like, we're all still here, but we're adults now, so we can fully support the people we love.
right?
So
They
it's
made an
like
impact on us.
we probably shouldn't make the whole interview about Blink, like I said,
I know, right? We'll move
but
on.
no, when they came back and um, it's like they weren't even gone. Like I had just been at a show. I just met Travis and everything, and but it was with Matt, and it was right before the pandemic happened. So like it's like not even like they were gone, but like just the fact that Tom came back, the whole world just was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go see Blink. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
really cool.
like one more time came out, and I just that music video. I
That video,
was like, I
yeah.
was not okay.
There's too much just nostalgia overload. It's
Yeah.
like we watched their whole life, and then seeing it all, throwbacks in that video was so cool.
Um, you have a new song coming out on Friday.
I do.
So stoked. What would you be down to maybe tell us a little bit about that song? What inspired
Sure.
that song?
That song, it came, I'd say, like, it's called Scars in the Dark. And I was like hesitant to name it that because it's just kind of like I don't know, cliche sounding name. But it was, it's kind of what that was about. It came at a time, like, right after a very dark time that I was going through. And it was just kind of the realization of, at that time being around my family or things, it was really apparent to me that they felt like I just wasn't the same, like I wasn't as fun as I was before and I wasn't as alive as I was before. And that's how I felt. But like that was kind of, it still is like a permanent thing. Like I'm not saying I'm not fun, like I can be fun, but
Right. No, right.
but but a lot got taken out of me and a lot of that life got taken out of me from that experience. And I just kind of looked back on all of the trauma and dark times that I've been through in my whole life. Um, like I said, I grew up, my both my parents were alcoholics and drug addicts. And so it was very crazy. There was homeless times. There was, you know, all sorts of stuff. I'll say that. So there's been a lot of that, and I just kind of sat there and I didn't write any music or anything to that song. I was just writing lyrics, just a poem, I guess, and I was just writing stuff down and kind of realizing that each one of those things, it just changes you. It just changes, like little by little, you just become such a different person, and you're scared to do this because this happened to you, or you're scared to feel because you don't want to feel bad things, or, you've been hurt and you don't want to feel that, and you don't want other people to feel that. And not just with love, but life, and so I just wrote a song, and the lyrics is kind of, that's what happens when your heart is shattered. Get up after falling apart. I'm not the same me that I was before I felt broken hearts. It's kind of just saying, like, yeah, like I've changed, and literally the next line is, they say that I changed, but I'm just playing my part. Like I'm just acting how anybody who's been through this would, and doing the best job that I can at, just playing my part, because it's like it's the role that I've been given. So, um,
Wow.
you know, sometimes you kind of have to accept that you're not you're never going to be that same person as you were before the trauma happened. But there are a lot of times in life where you have to hide those scars in the dark and put on a smile, and, you know, fake it till you make it, I guess. So that's kind of what the song is about, and how you can't, you can't get past, you can't get past things. You can, but you can't, become the same person that you were before again.
Do you feel like writing this song and kind of being able to put that out in the world is like a release for you?
Yeah. Um, like like I said, I've been listening to all these songs for a long time. So every time a new song comes out, I'm like, it's like letting another little piece of me out into the world, and hoping that people enjoy it.
Right.
Um, but this song has been one of those that I feel like was really close to my heart, as far as it just, it really is one of those that, says, you know, the words are exactly how I was feeling in that moment, and how I'm feeling, most of most of the
Right.
time. It's
Yeah.
I tend to overthink, and, it says it right in the song again. It's like I don't even really have to explain the song, because the song will tell you exactly,
Yeah. Straight
that,
up.
like, I'm an overthinker, I'm an overlover, and I'm, you know I got scars, but it's like, you know that's what happens. But the song is really close to me, so I'm really happy to finally have people hear it, and hopefully like it. So
I feel like it's going to touch a lot of people. Um, I feel like I'm extra excited to hear this now too because I feel like a lot of people right now are kind of going through some kind of their traumas, and to
yeah,
hear that from, somebody who they look up to that plays music.
the song like strikes me, like listening back after a year, you get like a whole different perspective. And I hope that doesn't make it less new to people that I keep saying it's a year old to me. But, that's kind of how it is. Like, most of the time with artists, they're like, oh, I've been listening, we have the song sitting around on a hard drive, just like ready to go forever. And you're talking to people like only two people in the world have heard it. And you're like, you sure it's good? You know, but, but the way it starts is like so much different than where it goes. So it's really kind of a fun adventure. It hops into it quickly, but lyrically, how it starts, you're just like, where's this going? And it's kind of fun.
So, can I ask you, what is your writing process like usually? How do you go about your writing?
Um, well, that depends. Like, a lot of people will say, but a lot of artists will say the same thing. It depends on the song. There's
Right.
sometimes, there's me and one of those guitars. Sometimes it's me and this MIDI controller that you can't see. Um, but sometimes it starts with the music, and or sometimes I'll think of a chord progression or something, and I'm in the car and I'll hum it into a voice memo. Or sometimes it's a one-liner, But some songs, like I said, "Scars in the Dark" was one of those that I just wrote the words out, and I kind of had like a general idea of the vocal melody.
Right.
Um, and then I went and wrote the music to it, and figured out exactly how to fit that into the pre-existing vocals that were in my head. And some other songs I'll write, I'll write the whole song, whether it's just the guitar. Sometimes I make an entire song instrumentally. Um, and then I'll either, just from scratch say like, this is what this music's making me feel. And, or I'll have like, I have on my phone just, in the notes, I just have like one-liners, and I have like whole songs written out, and I have like just millions that I have to like go through and go through and go through. And I'm just like, when did I write that? Like, I just did that last night. I was going through because I was writing a song for the new album and writing out the guitar parts. And I was like, what's the vocal melody for the verse go like? And because it's been, 6 months since I wrote it. And so I go and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm like, I'm just as excited as, I'm more excited than anybody is for this song because nobody knows about it. But, you know, I'll have to go through all those, and there's stuff that I don't even remember writing down. I don't know where it came from, but I'm like, sounds like me. And then there's, a lot of voice memos too, where I'll, I'm an insomniac, so I'm up a lot at night. And when I'm up at night, I'm probably working on music, or um, researching how to do something that I'm trying to figure out how to do. So sometimes I'll look back on voice memos, and that must have been like 3 in the morning, one night like a year ago, and I'm like, that's a great idea. I'm gonna write, I'm gonna look at this whole instrumental that I have and base it all around that one line or that one verse. You know, Most of the time it's a hook, at the chorus of
Right.
the song that I'll just, you know, sometimes I'll wake up and just kind of like really badly sing into my phone, in the middle of the
Yeah.
night. So I sound like I probably sound right now because I'm going through an AirPod. So this is what people on the phone hear me sound like. This is awful. I go through drive-throughs,
It's funny.
like it's just my voice. It's just like a really like weird voice, and then when I sing, it's a completely different voice. But it's like I'll go through drive-throughs, and they're you know, like, all right, ma'am, that'll be at the second window. And I'm like, ma'am, I get that a lot. I get
You
that a
do?
lot. And I'm like, yeah, I've
What?
gotten that at drive-throughs and like bill collectors, or, like not bill collectors, but people who call me, all right, like, what can I help you with, ma'am? And I'm like, well, I do know because I've heard myself, but
That's
I
so
think it's
funny.
hilarious. And it's like, do you want me to talk like this? You know, like, no, like I could, I don't know. It's
I
funny. Like,
love it.
I'm a
It's just,
vocalist, so I could just do like a lot of
yeah,
voices. It's like a lot
yeah.
of singers you'll find are like voiceover actors at the same time. Oh, like I'll get it like on the phone, like I'll call, and maybe it's because I'm just like really polite. Yeah, like subconsciously I'll to make sure that they know I'm a nice person, my voice will go up in pitch. And like it's unintentional. It's completely unintentional, but it's like, you know, I think that's probably where it comes from. But I think it's hilarious, and every single time, like, I crack up, and like half of the time on the phone, I won't even correct them because I just have had to do it too many times. I'm just like,
Just
nope,
let him have
that's
it.
it.
Nobody's
Thank
getting
you for
hurt.
your help. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even go like that high. It's not like I go into falsetto. Like, can I have some? Like, I don't go into like a Southern Belle voice or nothing, you know. Like,
I'm dead.
hey, I do falsettos. You got to know how,
You gotta know how, man. That's so
right?
funny. It's crazy because you know your voice is unique. I'm sure you know that you
Yeah,
do have like a unique. But yeah, it's like your voice that like fits in. It's like fun. Like when I hear your music,
yeah,
and I was like, oh, maybe his voice sounds his talking voice is different. But I'm like,
yeah.
oh no, it sounds like his singing voice.
I feel like it, especially like with a lot of runner stuff. Like, there's the lower register songs, which is funny because like I'll tend to play those songs in a higher key live because I like to challenge myself. But like it's like with a lot of the songs, all the music was already recorded, and then I
Mhm.
find like, oh, I have to go kind of down here to sing this, and that's it. That's true for Scars in the Dark. I sing that like two keys higher when I sing it like acoustic or live, because like I just find that like I like my voice better up there. And
Yeah,
then there's there's like songs like mine where it's almost talking in melody. It's more of that song was more of like a hip hop driven or like dark pop.
yeah,
Yeah. So like it's like people want you know or I meant whatever people want to call that song, but it's like that was a song that was more supposed to be like me telling the microphone how I was feeling, and not so much singing, to be singing up here and be, oh, look at me, I could sing, but
right, right.
so it was more like just what it was 3 a.m. singing into probably this microphone, and yeah, or it might have been one of those, um but it was just like 3 a.m. Like I just wanted to lay it down to see, kind of like a rough draft, and that just kind of ended up being the final take that I used for what people are hearing. But there's songs like that that are basically I'm just talking to the microphone, and then there's songs that are more like what you'll hear on Run when it comes out, or My Deja Vu, where My Deja Vu, it's like the verses are you know kind of down here, and then it's like stop.
Do you have a favorite song of yours?
No, no, that would be really, that's like it's like
Impossible.
picking your favorite kid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it,
so
it is.
true.
And I love them. It's the different reasons that I love them, because they all mean different things, obviously. But mine was the first Runner the Writer song that I recorded. So
Oh,
I didn't know what I was recording. I didn't even know that song would be released as Runner the Writer.
wow.
I was just recording a song to record a song, and I think I got 4 songs in before I said this is Runner, because like I said, I released a couple songs, years ago as Runner the Writer, but it was a completely, like, it was just straight rap pretty much. And I kind of deleted all that and just left the pages and everything blank, and which kind of, for different reasons ruined my algorithm. but
Yeah.
so everything was blank, and I deleted it. So when I got like 4 songs in, and I was like I don't know what this project is called, and then like it just kind of hit me. I was like, this is Runner, because it felt like that to me, that it would be Runner the Writer. So then I had to kind of go back and um, like rethink where the album was going. And as I went on, I think it got progressively more emo, more pop punk, and I just kind of loved that mix, because it, like, a lot of artists were already kind of doing that feel where you're taking all the blending of genres, and that was kind of a hard part. And for me, Runner was like like Run of the Writer is a way of me just making music that I like, and it doesn't matter what genre it is. It's just still me. So that was always kind of a battle. It's like, but where do I place this? Like, what do people call this? And I try not to think of that as much as possible, even though social media platforms force you to think about it. So I'm
Right.
like, you know, what does this song fall under, and how can I get it in front of people who like that genre? And so it kind of forces you to do that. But I love mine because it was the first song that I recorded. I love, My Deja Vu because it's like that song I was at that time I was made to feel kind of crazy for, I've said it in some content before, but I was made to feel nuts for thinking that something was going on behind my back.
Mhm.
Um, and it was oh, like you're nuts, you're uh, a narcissist, you're crazy, this and that, and then
You're being
find out like, oh,
gaslighted. Yeah.
yeah, and I guess so, that's a good way of putting it. And then to find out like, oh, no, exactly what I thought was happening. Okay, like, so it was like I was able to put that down and kind of get that off my chest and into music. So that song means a ton to me. Plus, I just melodically love that song.
Right.
Um, and so each one of them, Sunset just like puts a smile on my face every single time. It's just like the guitar starts. Like I don't even have to hear, me singing or anything. The guitar starts at the beginning and I'm just like, this is driving down the coast right now. So it
Yes.
just it just makes me happy.
I feel like
And so
Sunset shows like your California roots. Like
it does.
it's so like Malibu.
I always well, I think about like all the beaches. But I feel like I think of a specific like watching a specific sunset. Like every time that song starts, for some reason, I picture, um, I think it's like Santa Monica, and like it's like a memory I have. But I'm pretty sure I was in Santa Monica, and every
Wow.
single time I'm like, yeah, that's the sunset,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
could
why
see
it
that.
became sunset. Like that one was one that the music came first, and it just like it's like 1 in the morning, and I was listening and kind of mixing it, and I was like it just sounds like a sunset. And before I knew it, like within like 10 seconds, the chorus was done, and then the whole song came after that. But yeah, it just felt like a sunset, and it's still, I'm really proud of that song. I'm proud of all of them, but that song, I'm proud of the feeling that it gives me.
Well, like I said earlier, I feel like you put every ounce of your being into your craft. Has music always been your biggest passion from the beginning? And has it always been that for you? Like maybe like starting at a really young age where you like I want to create music. Do you have any memories of like the point where you were like I want to create music?
Yeah, I have. I mean, your typical like, I played with like pots and pans and banged on them. But like one of my first early memories, my parents loved music, but they are far from musically inclined. Um, so they didn't play instruments or anything. And so like nobody like bought me a guitar for my fourth birthday. Like some people are super lucky and they're like already learning piano or guitar or something when they're like a toddler. And like
Right.
I always think, God, I wish I started earlier. But I remember there was like my friend had like a Toys R Us guitar, right? It was like Toys R Us, so it's old. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it was like a play guitar. I don't even think it had strings on it. It was like play strings and then like a little piano built into it. And I would pretend, um like this is like early on, I think um like some Godzilla movie just came out and it had Brain Stew from Green Day on the soundtrack. So my friend had the soundtrack and he would like play it over and over and over. And we would like pretend to be Green Day, you know, like and and I would like pretend, and every single time I would put my fingers like in the same place on this fake guitar, you know. And then my brother, who's 11 years older than me, had a guitar, and I like did that on his guitar, and it was right. And I was just like, wait, what? Like I I knew how to play before I knew how to play, and
Oh.
so like I always like I had like the dreams. I would like sit out on my friend's like front deck, you know, and we would pretend it was a stage, and you know, so like I would always want to play music, but I didn't have access to an instrument or anything. And then um, I think you know my sister was with this guy, and he was obsessed with like all pop punk bands and stuff, and had guitars, and I would just sit there and try to play his guitars and would learn Blink songs. And, you know, then my brother gave me his old guitar on my 13th birthday. So that's like when I got to start playing music. But like the passion as far as just listening to music and wanting to do music started, you know, like 7, 8, maybe before that, but probably like 7 years old is when I realized like I want to write stuff and um, like do music. And then like we were talking about impressions and stuff, I would like copy almost everything that I heard on TV, like people doing voices or commercials or something. And you know, like one of my parents or my parents' friends or something was like he should be like a voiceover actor, or he should, you know, get into music. And I remember being really little and thinking like I want to do those. Like I, you know, so there was always like that spark of creativity. I just didn't know where to put it until I was able to have access to an instrument or something. But as far as listening to music, like I think it's the only thing I know, and especially making music, you know, I always like make a joke and say like it's the only thing I know. Like I I don't know what I would be or who I would be or if I would be here at all if it wasn't for making music. So it's like, you know, it really is like who I am. Like without it, like there's just I'm not a person. So, you know, but I always make that joke and say like, you know, it's the only thing I'm great at. But really, music has made me good at so many other things because, you know, like being so passionate about music has led me to pursue, you know, so many other things like, you know, filmmaking, videography, like just computers in general. I've, you know, like if it wasn't for music, I wouldn't have had a reason to do so many other things. So I think like music is like what drives me. It's just, it's like the core element of who I am. And it'll always be that way. Like I don't do anything else. So, and it's probably really annoying to the people in my life because I'll just like I'll just like start talking, you know, and I probably like I've done to you a few times here. I'll start talking and it's just like I don't stop and I'm just like circles. But
That's what
you
this
know,
is for.
but
This
it's
is
like
for you to
every
talk
time,
about your craft.
yeah, it's like my, you know, that's how it is with music and with creativity for me is like once the wheels start turning, it's like there's no slowing this down. And that's part of what I love about myself is because when I start something, I'm not going to be happy until I'm done with it. So, you know, when it comes to a song, you know, working on a song, writing a song, recording a song, it like everybody around me can tell that I'm distracted and I'm not, you know, I'm just not there. And they're like, you need to go finish what you started, huh? I'm like, yeah. Like I don't need food right now. I need music. So you got to get the ideas out. It's the same with any kind
Yes.
of content, creativity, anything. And there's the things that you think of and you'll forget, and then it keeps coming back to you, and you're like, all right, like I got to get this out because it's like it's like knocking at the door, like please let me out of here. Yeah.
Please. Yeah. And it won't stop. It'll bug you until you
Yeah.
get it out, that's just so crazy.
Some songs just, you know, they want to write themselves, and you're just kind of like
Um,
the vessel that they're writing, through, and you're just like,
yeah.
all right, like do what you're gonna do, song.
Thank you so much
You're
for
very welcome. Thank
sharing.
you for having me.
Oh my gosh.
This is my first
Anytime.
podcast, so
What?
it's my first podcast ever, and it's been really fun. I was all like, you know, nervous beforehand, so I'm glad that it went decently. I hope. I hope I
Oh,
did
just
okay.
just amazing. Like I am
Yeah,
so grateful to have been able to hear what goes on inside your brain, and everyone else is just
too
going to
much.
be treated. No. Is there anything else that you want to mention or share before we depart that like we didn't get to or anything? Anything you want to plug?
um,
And I'll have all your links in the description below, merch, everything.
okay. Go to those links. You can get this hoodie. You can get this hoodie that I'm wearing.
I
Um,
want that hoodie.
there's tons of new merch up, and it's really cool stuff, I think. But yeah, just go to those links if anybody watching this has, um 3 minutes or less sometimes to go listen to a song. Or if you don't, like, go to TikTok and listen 15 seconds at a time. I don't care. But but thank you to anybody who cared enough to watch, and thank you so much, Sam, for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And
Bye.
bye.